This sucks. Light rail. It is the most unique type of public transportation that revolves around having trains directly run within densely populated neighborhoods and streets. Unlike subway trains in places such as Philadelphia and Chicago, they could run directly through areas like parkways, transit hubs, and most famously, along roads usually made for car traffic. Many urban planners view it as a viable tool for reducing car usage in areas that have historically been redeveloped to accommodate car-dependent developments. San Diego and Denver, for instance, have developed light rail, trolleys, streetcars, whatever you might call them, that have significantly changed the areas along which they run. The significance of having a light rail not only entitles change, but also how the public perceives public transit in general. Asia is home to some of the world's biggest and extraordinarily transit networks, to the point where they were even highlighted in their own Sentai show. While IBX does offer a suitable alternative to taking multiple modes of transportation between Brooklyn and Queens, whose various neighborhoods have limited options for getting around besides BRT-like services that vary depending on the number of vehicles on the road, IBX should not only be an introduction to modern light rail, but also a solution to America's transit inflation. The current plan revolves reactivating pre-existing tracks of the freight line funded by LIRR that would run between Sunset Park in Brooklyn and Jackson Heights in Queens. The rolling stock in this case would consist of low-floor light vehicles that would run at high speeds, as mentioned in an open house by the project's executive, Charles Gans. Should this be the case, the line will be identified as Tram Metro. Trams that run at top speeds through isolated corridors similar to those of metros in places such as Boston, London, and Porto. It's safe to assume that this project will lean closely to that of Boston's Green Line system, where much of it consists of running tram trains through pre-existing right-of-ways into uninhabited areas. Throughout the discourse following where the tracks will be located in October of 2024, the MTA reported that it would focus solely on running service in the form of a tram metro as opposed to running it in the form of a tram train within Queens, where the line was supposed to run along the streets of Middle Village. As of reporting, IBX is undergoing its design phase, with operations expected to commence sometime in the 2030s. Though some may argue that transit should focus on bringing people to and from Manhattan, as mentioned by Middle Village Civic Association President Tony Nizzato argues to AM New York that residents don't need a train to Brooklyn. As segregated as it sounds coming from someone within a population dominated by whites, it's important to note that while there is a subway that serves the neighborhood, Middle Village falls into the category of oasis due to its strong suburban aesthetic seen in many mom-and-pop stores, as well as its parks and churches. It's this oasis mentality that has watered it down IBX's impact on communities, not just along its established route, but also in New York as a whole. Let's examine the route itself. So far, much of the route has remained the same for 3 years now. The most important factor when viewing this map is the number of subway lines along its route that would feed into the daily ridership between it and other subways. Beginning with Queens in the top right, from Myrtle Avenue to Roosevelt Avenue, the line will run along freight right-of-ways and servicing communities within the suburban neighborhoods of Middle Village. The neighborhood's most direct route is the Q67, which runs from Metropolitan Ave to Long Island City near the Ed Koch and into Queens Plaza. Presumably, the route would act as a feeder route for the light metro and transferring passengers from the bus to the tram. While this relieves overcrowding, there are still places that have yet to be accessed by the IBX. What's more, Jackson Heights, the most densely populated neighborhood in the borough, which is also home to one of the most overcrowded stations in the city, is set to be the terminal for the IBX. What I'm trying to get at is that while IBX does allow for multiple transfers between Brooklyn and Queens, the present problem with this route is its inability to decongest existing traffic in places such as west of Myrtle Avenue, which did have a shuttle line that ran west of Brooklyn. Current traffic volumes on streets such as Main Street and Jackson Heights will continue to see wear and tear if alternative means of transportation aren't provided. Therefore, the expansion of the IBX or systems like the IBX must be researched and developed if New York seeks to mitigate congestion on the streets and neighborhoods that have historically been neglected due to Moses' pursuit of car-dependent infrastructure during the 50s and 60s. Routes that follow existing roads that stretch for more than 1 mile or more, following a straight right-of-way should be the basis for tram right-of-ways. In doing so, we not only facilitate trams running on pre-existing bus routes, but also open the door for the redevelopment of streets as well as an eventual reduction in buses where they will be ill-suited in places where demand for more reliable modes of transportation will greatly benefit car-dependent neighborhoods. I'd like to be completely honest with y'all. I never liked the bus. For its benefits in shuffling commuters during times of bad weather, emergencies, etc., for what is worth, the bus within city operations only benefit from the fundings of the government, as well as the infrastructure through things such as terminals, and of course, being the tool utilized in the most explicit way possible. Buses in many cities in America suffer from a long-standing issue. Buses in many cities in America suffer from a long-standing issue of a lack of dedicated right-of-ways in the form of busways. Lanes that can sometimes improve the frequency of travel times on certain streets depending on their design. The reason why I didn't confirm their benefit in that last quote was that, in general, busways' full potential in moving large groups of commuters is hindered due to them being located on existing roads that see large volumes of traffic, including cars, trucks, and sometimes bicycles. That's not to say we should purge all road lanes, especially the bike lanes, but for buses to work outside of heavy rail like the New York City subway and Metro North, signal and road priority should be made absolute through the very infrastructure they run on. In New York City, the MTA has and still is incorporating things such as double bus lanes, photo enforcement for parked vehicles on bus right-of-ways, and bus signaling for faster departures on certain routes. Despite this, as reported recently by the city comptroller Brad Lander, the person in charge of overseeing how funds are allocated into city services like public transportation, reports that more than half of New York City's 332 bus routes have either gotten a D or F. This is due in part to the lack of reliable transportation, mainly in the form of rail, which could be seen in many low-income communities, as discussed in a 2020 article by the New York Daily News. The design of the buses themselves also plays a factor in reliability. As shown and reported on Dimensions.com, the average length of a city bus in North America is approximately 39.2 or 11.95 meters, with a total capacity around 106 people. Articulated buses have a total length of 59 or 18 meters, with a total capacity of 147 people. In comparison, in Latin American countries such as Brazil and Colombia, bi-articulated buses can accommodate as many as 250 people. These models of buses can be found in places such as China, Turkey, and France, where dedicated right-of-ways allowed for speedier travel times as part of a transit service known as Bus Rapid Transit. BRT for short acts as a sort of discount rail service minus the rail, in which things such as bus stops appear in the form of stations, buses having doors on both sides in consideration of the location of the platform, and where prepaid fares are required before boarding. As stated in the article Beyond the Route by the MTA, every week the MTA runs over 4,900 buses across 327 as of 2024 routes. Our buses, though, have to navigate a more complicated landscape than our trains, facing double parked cars, road closures, delivery vehicles, traffic, and whatever else they might find on New York City's frantic roadways. Below is a link to the New York City dataset where you can view the average speed segments of buses within the 5 boroughs from 23 to 24. By scrolling horizontally through the columns to the section labeled Average Road Speed and Average Travel Time, see that the average travel time for MTA buses last year, specifically in Manhattan, ranged from 2 to 23 minutes, with speeds ranging from 6 to 15 miles per hour. Primarily in Upper Manhattan along St. Nicholas and 3rd Avenues. As for routes outside of Manhattan, the average travel time is 2 to 16 minutes and the speed ranging from 2 to 39 miles per hour. Higher speeds are contributed by some routes running via roads such as parkways, freeways, and of course, bus lanes. Despite this data, buses, as mentioned earlier from Brad's report, are given either a D or F because of poor speeds. Because buses have to weave through traffic on roads that easily get crowded, thanks to things such as parallel parking and other factors, it's safe to say that building tram routes along existing bus corridors will benefit existing travel times and speed up commute time 10 times faster than the city's existing BRT, if you could call it that due to it not following BRT requirements as according to New York City Streets blog. In a broader article by the FTA, it showcases and lists what makes a bus route a BRT. The following info relates to existing BRT networks inside and outside of the US in places such as LA and Mexico City. It lists the following conditions. 1. Wide choices of running ways. 2. Enhanced stations. 3. Innovative vehicles. 4. Improved fare collection. 5. Improved services. And 6. Modern branding and marketing. From the current BRT service in New York City, Selectbusservice or SBS routes follow 3 of the 6 requirements. These include fare collection, improved services, and most importantly, branding and marketing. Select bus service operations begun in 2008 under former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg after his proposal in late 2004, with the first route being the BX12 from Inwood, Manhattan to Co-op City and Bay Plaza in the Bronx. 2 years later, the program would be expanded with the introduction of the Q44 SBS from Jamaica, Queens to East 180th Street in the Bronx via the Cross Bronx Expressway and Bronx Whitestone Bridge. Problems with later expansions of routes like the Q44, specifically the infrastructure they run on, caused an uproar in many communities, with the main argument being parking availability. Today, the program has expanded to a total of 16 routes in all 5 boroughs. These routes primarily serve as crosstown connectors in areas where rail access is limited. Let's go over the points where SBS succeeds and go over where it doesn't. Starting with the stations, almost every SBS stop has a bus shelter, a bus stop that tells you if the route you're taking is an SBS route, and most importantly, ticket machines that utilize the balance within MetroCards to print out paper tickets for passengers to show to the driver before boarding, if anyone bothers to use the front door and not sneak through the rear. With the installation of tap pay in all forms of city transit, the usage of such tickets will most likely be replaced along with the MetroCard by the end of this year. While these routes do connect communities within areas that lack sufficient transit, as well as improve the flow of traffic within dense areas, as I keep mentioning, the speeds and travel time of New York City buses suck ass. I'll list the first 3 categories in which it fails. 1. Wide choice of running ways. Besides double bus lanes in places such as 14th Street, where the M14 route is situated, there is at least 1 lane for each direction of existing traffic lanes in many parts of the city. Fordham Road, for example, along the BX12 route in the Bronx, has 1 bus lane serving a total of 4 routes heading west. Fordham is one of the busiest public shopping areas, as well as being a terminus for Westchester-bound buses, a local stop on the Metro North, and a stop for the BX41 SBS. Making traveling much difficult is how the lane is usually used as a parking spot for people working in the area, a problem in which our current mayor, Eric Adams, has failed to address. Let's keep ticketing people for blocking the lanes instead of spending the city budget or renegotiating it to address the city's needs. 2. Enhanced stations. They're just bigger bus shelters. In states and countries that have BRT routes, typically the routes utilize stations that are usually located in the center of existing traffic. The Bogota-Colombia BRT, pioneer of many BRT-like systems in the world today, has buses that stop at stations in the center of traffic. It also doesn't help that many stops along SBS routes only have ticketing machines and no bus shelters. 3. Innovative vehicles. While many newer buses currently operating in the city have newer technological features, for SBS, the only means of innovation for people riding the bus is not to pay on board. With the introduction of Omni, the tap pay method for fares on almost all public transportation in the state, this practice is quickly becoming obsolete. Overall, SBS's attraction and appeal are evident in its marketing and branding, which is reflected in its light blue Liberty, bus shelters, and ticketing machines. While the bus lanes on both SBS and regular routes prioritize bus speeds, external factors such as parallel parking, close proximity to other lanes, and a significant lack of signal priority have made SBS's and the entire New York City bus network less effective. Transit in North America for many decades has struggled financially and persuasively due to things such as economic depressions, public perception, racism, and other external factors which caused years, if not centuries, to be fully realized. In fact, many cities in America during the 20th century had either scaled back their public transit projects back a few years or canceled them entirely due to budget and economic stresses within the country's economy. As for modern transit projects, they have been met with heavy criticism from the public, politicians, and NIMBYs who sometimes vote against any large-scale project due to uncertainty and costs, which usually range from $500 million to $10 billion in some places within the US. As for New York City, due to its high population, laws, and infrastructure, any new subway or busway comes with challenges that its residents and politicians are unequipped and incapable of responding to without the threat of retaliation from the wealthy who don't typically live or work in the city. Why should New Yorkers, most of whom with fixed incomes, pay taxes for drivers from outside of the state? Drivers who drive recklessly, damage roads, as well as park in vital transit corridors, tasked with moving public transportation as quickly as possible. It's not to say that New York State's policies are bad. However, for recent decades, it has been noticeably difficult to build anything transit related due to the influence of the stigmatization culture in the state. According to Construction Drive, public transit agencies in the US rarely have the authority over labor, land acquisition, street closure permits, and other essential requirements necessary to build a functional transit system. But it's not to say that transit is impossible to fund in the city. With the right amount of social and political push, transit can still be achieved with possible setbacks, however. The average rail line per mile in the present day costs around $300 million. Coupled with the reallocation of soil, tunneling, and the entire street, this project is more likely to cost somewhere around $1 billion. It's prices like these that projects would typically be called off, but in the case of IBX, costing $5.5 billion, building things such as light rail is more appealing not only to the general public, but also to politicians for the most part. If we imply that building light rail infrastructure costs less than building a subway, we will see more lines getting added to the project than just having one line run on a specific right-of-way. In possible future expansions, we need to prioritize establishing new right-of-ways for streetcars. That includes the likelihood of running street-run trams on streets within established transit corridors. The most beneficial approach will be to run trams on existing bus lanes where crosstown connections between two boroughs are needed, particularly where there is no rail access. Not only will it speed up commute times, but it will also reduce overcrowding on the existing SBS routes and reduce traffic along the routes. The main goal for these tram lines is to improve struggling transit corridors by revamping streets that are the most used, while also changing the ways in which people get around besides buses, cars, and in some cases, subways. Overall, the main message of this video should convey is that New York City needs to change its transit philosophy. An argument could be made that trams are inferior to subways, therefore, as the city's economy remains stable, they will be replaced eventually by metros. The Second Avenue subway, along with the rest of the New York City subway system, was built with this idea in mind. But in turn, as economic conditions worsened during the outbreak of the Great Depression, World War II, and the 1975 fiscal crisis, such claims, even in today's economy, are generally proven erroneous, when in fact we cannot build any new metros without running into financial instability, funding, and all other external factors at play, which are then pushed as burdens by next mayoral administrations and the next until someone finally comes up with a suitable budget. The IBX will eventually be expanded to other places besides its designated terminuses, and once that happens, we will see a shift in New York City's politics regarding future metro and bus expansions for the best or for the worse. Hey guys, it's Hunty here. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, consider subscribing to the channel and leave a like, your comments, and whatnot. As well as consider following me on IG, as I'm also posting content there. Well, shorts for now, basically just whipped it from YouTube. But I'm considering expanding it to posts and whatnot of my journeys, I'm biking, but whatnot. So I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I mean it's pretty been a very good experience for me. Whatnot, in communicating. I'm not the best at communicating. I'm was spoken directly, but so far, my worldview, is actually pretty much getting across, even though it might sound tactic, you could say, might sound boring, but probably radical, at times, but it's honestly most pretty fun, actually, I mean, that's what social media is for. Yeah. Well, as of my time in the community, I mean, it's been pretty somewhat of an impact, you could say. I mean, the Broadway video, it has really piqued everyone's interest. So far, basically, that's it's the most popular video on my channel besides the shorts, and I guess it goes to show how well of a topic well, actually of a video, you could say, if your commentary is pretty diverse and impactful, you could say. So I'm saying it like this, I mean, I'm not that good at communicating and stuff like that, but overall, I think pretty much I did my job in talking about transit in North America, stuff that needs to improve, what could be done about it, and my hopes. So as of as of subscribers, currently it's pretty been hit or miss for me. I mean, while I'm proud of the viewers I'm getting, not many of you are subscribing, which is why you should subscribe. But overall, it's been pretty sluggish, you could say. And especially considering that YouTubers would typically get
close to like 1,000 by like 2 years or whatnot. But that hasn't happened yet. But I'm not gonna like beat myself over the bush and and basically cry about, as I pretty much still enjoyed my time in Spotlight. As for future projects, I'm thinking about switching to commentary in general for anime, you could say, specifically Gundam. And why is that? It's well, transit is my focus for a lot of this channel's identity. There's also videos in which I do that are strictly entertainment, Power Rangers, Minecraft, you could say. And while those videos are pretty much hit or miss, you could say, it's undeniable that on the shorts, they got it thousands of views. So what better is there to do other than just embrace it fully? But yeah, I think for next year I will have be more involved, hopefully, besides college and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much my hopes for next year to say. But anyways, I hope you enjoy sitting around and join me bickering for close to a few minutes or something like that. But anyways, hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe, like I said, and I'll see you next year probably, or pretty much in a few weeks, as I'm gonna be editing this as a short. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, have a good one, and thanks for watching.